The US is barreling towards a recession in 2025 that's likely to cause home prices to go down in many different cities and states across America. However, home prices are not going to go down everywhere this year. Rather, prices are going to continue to increase in the 10 states on this list. Now, before getting into this top 10 list, I want to issue a warning, and it's that the states on this list are not going to be the ones that you expect as a home buyer or investor to normally provide the most appreciation. However, in this environment where we're heading towards a recession and interest rates are high, these housing markets are outperforming the rest. Starting with number 10, Massachusetts, with data on Reventure app showing that values are up 5% over the last year and could increase by as much as another 5 or 6% in 2025. The reason that prices in Massachusetts are still going up is due to a massive shortage of inventory driven by a lack of home building, particularly in markets like Boston, Worcester, and Springfield. But values are forecast to go up by even more in our number 9 state, New York. New York State also continues to defy the odds, with its housing market being one of the best performing in America. For instance, you can see New York registered 6.8% home price appreciation in 2024. That was third best. This appreciation in New York is being driven by a historic shortage of inventory where there's only 29,000 homes for sale, roughly half the levels they were at pre-pandemic. And so when supply is that low, it's going to cause prices to continue to increase, with a similar situation playing out in our number 8 state where values are going to go up in 2025, West Virginia. Now, West Virginia is interesting. It's actually the most affordable housing market in America, with a typical home value of only $166,000. Values in West Virginia are actually so cheap that the typical home price only trades for 2.9 times the median income across the state. That means local buyers in West Virginia can still afford houses, which is why West Virginia actually is one of the only states where home sales are continuing to grow in 2025, with many people electing to buy land in West Virginia. You can buy 8 to 9 acres for as little as $25,000, or you could buy 26 acres for $160,000 and maybe put a nice log cabin on the property. And the reason we're seeing this, everyone, these kind of underrated, under the radar housing markets do the best, is because we're seeing boomerang migration occur across the US, where a lot of the people who moved to the South during the pandemic, to states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida, they're now moving back to where they came from in the Northeast and Midwest because they're getting called back into the office. They miss their friends and family. They realize that maybe life wasn't everything it was cracked up to be in these pandemic boom towns, so the housing demand is now shifting back to the legacy housing markets. And our number 7 market's actually really interesting. Like our number 7 state where Reventure app forecast prices are going to go up the most in 2025, Vermont. Now, Vermont is really interesting, everyone. The typical home value there is $385,000. And you can see it's gone up by about 50% since the pandemic started, with many of the homeowners in Vermont being second and third homeowners. Almost 19% of all the homes across the state are absentee-owned units, which I call shadow inventory. You can see that this is actually the highest rate of shadow inventory of any state in the US, meaning that many of the buyers in Vermont's housing market don't actually live there full time and rather buy vacation and weekend homes, which has ultimately propped up this housing market over the last couple years. Now, our number 6 state has a more normal cross-section of home buyers. This is an area in the Midwest where values are up 5.5% over the last year and could go up by another 6 to 7% in 2025, Wisconsin. You can see home prices are going up all across the state of Wisconsin, especially in Green Bay, Sheboygan, and Milwaukee, where values are up 5%. These home price increases in Wisconsin are due to a big increase of people moving into the state. Ever since the pandemic started, the migration charts in Wisconsin have skyrocketed, with data on Reventure app showing that the state added 19,000 net people in 2023. That was the highest migration rate going all the way back to the mid-90s. With our number 5 area where prices are going up the most right now being New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire is really, really interesting because it's actually the number 1 state for home price growth in America since the pandemic started. New Hampshire, the Granite State as it's called, has actually beat every other state in terms of home value growth. As you can see, values are up 68% the last 5 years, going from a typical value of $283,000 to $476,000 in New Hampshire, making it the number 1 appreciation state in that span, with only Maine and Montana coming even close. Now, a lot of people are moving to New Hampshire from cities like Boston and New York because they like the lifestyle there, they like the nature, and they also like the relatively lax laws and freedom that New Hampshire allows its residents. Additionally, they enjoy the fact that there's no income tax and no sales tax. However, be careful buying a property in New Hampshire because they'll get you on the property taxes. For instance, if you were to buy a house in Manchester, New Hampshire, the state's biggest city, a 4-bed, 2-bath for $450 grand, built in 1986, will run you a tax bill of $7,000 to $8,000, and that might even go up even more after it sells. And that's a point to pay attention to, everyone, is that if you buy in these states, understand that while you might get better home price appreciation than other parts of America over the next year, you still might face high property tax bills as well as high insurance bills. As you can see, data on Reventure app shows that the highest property taxes in America are in these states in the Northeast and Midwest that comprise most of this list. It's the Northeast and Midwest where the inventory is lowest and where the prices are still going up, but you can see property tax rates anywhere from 1.5% to 1.9%. However, the property taxes aren't quite as bad in our number 4 state where Reventure app projects prices to go up the most in 2025, Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, values are up 7.1% over the last year, the second highest growth rate in America, with the Reventure app price forecast score registering a 58 out of 100. A 58 out of 100 is above average and indicates a seller's market, meaning it's more likely that prices go up. You can see this is the case for most areas across Rhode Island, including Providence, Kent County, as well as Washington County. We're forecasting continued appreciation due to a massive shortage of inventory. Near Providence, we've gone from 600 homes for sale in Washington County down to only 155 in 2025. With our number 3 state also suffering from a big shortage of inventory in 2025. This state might have one of the biggest inventory shortages of all the states in America. There simply aren't enough homes for sale. There aren't enough builders. There aren't enough real estate investors selling. In Illinois, as you can see that the inventory deficit in Illinois is 38.9%, meaning that the long-term average for inventory is 28,000, yet there's only 17,000 homes for sale today. This inventory deficit in Illinois is the 4th worst in America, and it's why values are still up 5.4% over the last year, with cities such as Chicago, Peoria, as well as Springfield all having massive deficits. And before I get into the top 2 states where values are forecast to go up the most in 2025 according to this data on Reventure app, I want to explain a shift that's occurring in the housing market right now. And this shift is a reversion, it's a reversal of what occurred during the pandemic, where the states that did the best during the pandemic, like Texas and Florida in terms of home price appreciation, they are now doing the worst, while the states that did the worst during the pandemic, like Illinois, are now doing the best. And that's due to the fact that a lot of the people who moved to the South during the pandemic are now moving back to the Northeast and Midwest. They're getting called back into the office for work. Maybe they tried out a state like Texas or Florida for a couple years and realized it's not for them. Maybe they got laid off from their job and have to move back closer to friends and family. Whatever the reason, we are seeing a shift in where people are moving in America back to what I call legacy cities and states. And these legacy cities and states, they don't build enough homes to accommodate the home buyers, so the prices are still going up. Like in our number 2 housing market, where prices are still surging, New Jersey. For instance, folks, take a look at this. In New Jersey, values are up 7.9% over the last year. That's the best price growth that we had in 2024 of any state in America. The typical value went from $498,000 to $538,000. In comparison, home prices in Florida went down over the last year, but they're still booming in New Jersey, and especially in Bergen County, Morris County, Somerset County, Middlesex County, values went up 10%. And if you go to Ocean in Atlantic County near the beach, values are up 7%. Now, New Jersey faced a big influx of people moving in from Manhattan during the pandemic, and there's obviously still some of that influx occurring. We'll have to see what the new congestion pricing charges in New York City do to housing demand in New Jersey. New York City is now charging people from New Jersey to drive into the state. This is a $9 congestion fee for people driving into Manhattan, so one might think that this could slow down the New Jersey housing market outside New York City if more of the people who moved out there might need to consider maybe moving back in.
in, or maybe just fewer people are going to move out of the city overall. However, for now, values in New Jersey are still exploding and will continue to go up in 2025 due to the fact that there's no inventory on the market. There's only 12,000 homes for sale in New Jersey. That's down almost 70% from where it was 5 years ago. Look at this inventory chart, everyone. It tells you everything you need to know. This reduction in inventory is why Reventure app gives New Jersey a 61 out of 100 on the price forecast for 2025. That's one of the highest scores in America. And before revealing our number one state that we think home prices are going to go up in 2025 here at Reventure app, I want to talk about our price forecast score and why you guys should pay attention to this score. It's a score from 0 to 100 that assesses whether prices are more likely to go up or down in the future. And the score is based on the fundamentals in the local market, like recent appreciation, days on market, inventory, and price cuts. And they essentially tell you the supply-demand dynamics. And actually, we back-tested the data on this score from 2023 to 2024, and we found it predicted home price growth with almost 74% accuracy across large metros in America, making this score one of the best publicly available readings for understanding your local housing market and where prices could head in the future. You can access that score for your area at www.reventure.app by typing in your zip code and signing up for a premium plan. However, first, let's reveal our number one state where prices are going to go up the most in 2025. This is a state where values went up 6.3% in 2024 and where inventory is down 56% from its long-term average. Such low inventory levels means that home prices are going to continue to go up in Connecticut in 2025. That's our number one state where we forecast prices are going to go up the most, by as much as 7 to 8% in 2025 is what we're forecasting across Connecticut. Our home price forecast score is a 63 out of 100. Head to www.reventure.app right now to access this data down to your zip code so you can see the scores for your neighborhood under a premium plan.